Hey everybody. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here real quick. And I'm already in the pricing page for daily.co. And I've got some stuff pulled up here. We'll just keep this like super informal. If you have a question or anything like that, just post it in the chat and I can try to answer it as best I can. But we are continuing to work on this Spitball app. And if you weren't Pushing Panda, yeah, session one is actually on my YouTube channel. It's kind of strange because I haven't actually touched this app in like 3 weeks or something like that. And I had already started this app when we did session one. So, like, a lot of this was built way before that. So it wasn't really session one. It was probably like, yeah, it may be kind of hard to find. You may have to go into like my live recordings and look for it. Um, hey James, how's it going? So yeah, this app we kind of already had a lot of it built out, like just some random functions here. But we'll look at today a little bit about Softer Studio, Softer, which is the website that I'm using to actually build the website for Spitball. If you haven't checked that out, it's a great platform. And then we'll also be looking at daily.co, which is an embedded audio video API, like Zoom or anything else, except we can actually embed it into an iframe, which will make it really easy to implement into our Adalo app here. And I haven't actually done that yet, so we're going to dive into probably some nitty gritty stuff today about this kind of stuff. So again, I don't have all the knowledge together prior to streaming this, but I wanted everybody to be able to see, like, this is the process that everybody goes to. Like, before you see the end product that's all shiny and put together, this is the kind of like nitty gritty nasty stuff that sometimes you have to do if you're wanting to implement some more advanced type features into your apps. So I've got the daily, like I said, I've got the daily stuff pulled up. I also got Adobe Spark pulled up with my some of my assets for this project. Last time we worked in this pretty heavily just to basically make an icon here. And I think we spent the majority of the time adjusting this image right here of the notification bell. And basically these are two different images with two different visibilities on them. So that, if the user doesn't have a notification, it shows this one. If they do have a notification, it shows this one. And I think we already implemented the visibility here as well. Yep. So if you want to know about that and how that's set up, you can go back and watch session one. I do know that that's in there, so that's good. But for those of you that are not familiar with Spitball, it's basically an app that focuses on the more human side of connection, right? Like everything that we do on social media is through like text, pretty much. You're tweeting, you're posting Facebook statuses, you're putting on Instagram for the most part. And so like there's this toxicity and kind of anonymity that comes along with that, which is good in some cases, but it also like it makes it tempting for us to be rude to people and to be just toxic in online environments. And Spitball is kind of like a reprieve from that type of, or it aims to be a reprieve from that type of environment. So it focuses more on audio chats, video chats. It's not quite Clubhouse because this is more one-on-one. So you can go and find specific people with specific specialties or interests. And you can just talk with them for free if you want. Or the plan is to eventually have paid stuff. So for instance, if I needed a podcast guest for my podcast, someone who was very knowledgeable about, everybody's into cryptocurrency these days, so I'll just use that as an example. Say I needed a podcast guest about cryptocurrency, I could go on Spitball and search for that, and basically find people that have that specialty or that interest and then ask them to connect. And then we basically would jump on like a one-to-one audio call or a video call through Daily. And, we could either set up a meeting or possibly even record the podcast right there in Daily. Another use case for this is, say you need a mentor, right? Or a coach in some way. You can actually pay people to meet with every week. Therapists could use this. You could use this with veterinarians, right? Like if vets wanted to get a little bit of side cash, they could, you have an issue with a dog or a cat, little Fido got a thorn in his paw and you don't know what to do. You can go on here and find someone who is actually a vet or who specializes in animals and, figure out, talk with them, set up a meeting real quick and show them exactly what's going on. So that's kind of the idea here. Okay, so enough about that. We've got just a quick outline here. I've got just a welcome screen that's very simple, a sign up page. These are all individual components with groups or that are grouped. So I've got a label, an input. These are all separate. It's not like an actual form. I've got a login screen, of course. I have not actually set this up yet, but we can do this later. An email verification. So it sends them an email with the code asking them to put that in here just to make sure their email's legit. It asks them why they are joining, either to talk to someone or earn some money, or maybe both. They can pick a few specialties or interests. So as they tap on these, they turn blue and they appear up here in this list where then they can, erase them from here. We've got a home screen, a profile screen, obviously edit screens and, edit profile, edit interests, edit their payment info. This is their profile preview. Let's see, we've got a search where you can search for people or spitballs, and spitballs are basically just resources that you're posting. It's not really like a tweet or a status update. This should be something, spitballs are something that actually contribute value to the community. And you can do that here. You can, shoot a spitball if you want. But the whole, like the name implies like, oh yeah, I'm just spitballing here, but what if we did X, Y, Z? And that's kind of where the name came from. Pushing pandas. Very cool. Nice. So you're creating a vet app already. That's awesome. I may be hitting you up for some, some insight there for this. The compare password at register. Yeah. So this is, these are two separate, components that just sit kind of on top of this group, but you can actually make these a part of the group if you wanted to. And basically these only appear if this input and the confirm input are the same. So you can see here, this will only be visible if the password input, which is this one, is equal to the confirm password input, which is this one. And the same thing, the visibility is basically exactly the same for this one as well. So as long as the confirm password matches this, then both of these will appear, and that will show them that it's, that the passwords match. And then also, whenever you're building a form like this, it's always good to like make these groups dependent upon each other. So like this last name is only visible if the first name is not empty. And the reason you do that is just because we can't place required fields on individual components. Like in a normal form component, I can go in here and say, like, yes, this is a required field, right? But on these individual ones, I can't actually do that. So we have to have some way of like controlling to make sure that they actually enter each field before they're presented with the next one. Yeah, so let's get into doing a, I got to figure out how I want this to work here. So I do know that the daily API they have some authentication here, and this is usually the first place that I go when I'm trying to implement an API, because if Adalo can't authenticate with it, or you can't, your users can't access the service through the password or API key or whatever it is that the service requires, then you're pretty much dead in the water on that end as far as like using it in Adalo. But there are features coming out to Adalo for like external users collections, things like that. Third-party authentication, things like that. So those things are coming, but just right now it's a little bit more difficult to do. But this is I usually check this first each time. And then the other thing that I do is usually check, whenever I'm on an API, is usually check the introduction and using these docs. Like most of them have like a guide to the documentation itself. And sometimes they just have some useful information in here. A lot of figuring this stuff out is just reading, and sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, especially for the more complex APIs and things. But usually what I try to look for is like things that I'm looking to do specifically. So anytime you see this right here, REST API reference, if you see REST API, that's a really good sign, because that means Adalo can very, very easily implement with REST APIs. Basically these are just different endpoints. So these, in this case, they're broken up by categories. So like you've got rooms, meeting tokens, recordings, logs, meetings, presence. So right away, like I'm wanting to create a room or a meeting, I know. So I'm kind of evaluating what to look at based off of that. So what I'll do is go in here and look at rooms, and then I'll read a little bit. Okay, a room represents a specific video call location and configuration. You can list, create, configure, and delete rooms with the daily API. Okay, so this means that basically I can, create meeting rooms that people can go into. And I can also like configure them programmatically through this API. I can delete them. I can do all that stuff through this. And when I say programmatically, I just mean not using an interface, basically. We're doing it all with code, essentially. Very low code, but still with some code. So let's see, this says, let me scroll down here. So this says you can configure daily rooms with 3 different parameters: name, privacy, and a properties object. We've got most properties determine what features appear when using the daily pre-built UI. This is tempting to click on, but we can see that the pre-built UI for this is something that we probably won't be able to change with the free version. I think this is only something that we can like edit if we actually subscribe to it. Okay, so maybe not. Let's see. Step-by-step guide, embed a daily room URL. Okay, so it says first you'll need a daily room URL. Once you have one ready, replace in the code snippet below with your own. Okay, so this brings up another good point. Sorry, Franklin. Yes, Softer Studio is what we're using to build the actual website for Spitball. I think you can go to softer.io. It's a really good, easy to use website builder. They have some great templates and stuff to use. But I don't really want to make a daily room URL. I think what I want to have happen here is like when a person sets up a meeting with someone, I want it to create a room automatically. And then once that room is finished, like once that meeting room is over, I want it to delete the room, right? I either want to do it that way, or I want to, I either want to do it that way, or I want to create a separate room for each person that joins. The only issue with that at this point, I think, is that the pricing for daily, on the free plan, you can only have 50 programmatic rooms. So that means that 50 people could join. I could create a room, tie that room to that person forever. And they would basically just use that room anytime they had a meeting. So I think it's better to probably go the other route and say, okay, each time a person wants to join a room, I'm just going to create it. And then when they get done, I'm going to delete the room. I think that's probably going to be the best route to go. Pushing Pandas, why not use Adalo for the website too? Mainly because Adalo is more for web apps, and I don't really need all the functionality that Adalo offers just for a website. And because Softer is like specifically for websites and Adalo is specifically for apps, it just makes it a little bit easier to actually build a website in Softer. Like to build this in Adalo, I could do this for sure, but it would require me to like go in and add individual pieces of text here and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But it also, like, this is automatically dynamic, right? So I don't have to go in and like check to make sure that it's responsive to whatever device they're on. It just kind of automatically like moves to, it automatically adjusts to whatever device the person's using. And Adalo does this to some extent as well in a web app. But if I was doing it in Adalo, I would want to send them probably to 2 separate apps. Yeah. Yeah, it is a cool platform. This is probably my favorite stack, I would say, is Softer for the website and, Adalo for the web app side and the mobile app side of things. But yeah, good question. Okay, so I think what I want to have happen is, I've got a preview modal here, and I think this comes from this list, because this list is like a list of users. And it's a list of users that match with whatever the specialties and interests that the logged in user has. So if I log in and I've selected a bunch of interests, it's going to show me all the people here who share those interests. I've just set it so that it only shows people if they have a profile photo, because we don't want to see blank users in here. It looks kind of bad. And then also current user ignoring users. This is like if someone has tried to follow you and you basically like ignored their request or whatever. So you don't want to see people that you've like blocked in this list. And we don't want to see ourselves, so I put an email is not equal to the logged in user email. Oh yeah, awesome. So I will probably look into that, Lola. Play with daily quite a bit. You can even have rooms automatically expire. Yeah, I may end up doing that. I may even build that feature in later as well, for like meetings that are created. I think what I want to have happen, like this is fine for like a profile preview. I built a preview that was different than an actual profile screen, just because if I just click on a user here, I may not want to see their entire profile. I may just want to like click on them very quickly, see a little pop-up about them. I can send them a message if I want to. I can see their interests, or I can like view their entire profile, which would be like, it would look more like this probably, where you can see like how many they're following, how many people follow them, how many sessions they've had, their about, all that good stuff. But I think I like this preview, because if I just see somebody here, I don't want to like have to go all the way to their profile to do something. We've got a follow, unfollow, and a ignore, acknowledge button. And so I'm going to try and figure out, I don't think this profile links anywhere yet. Yeah. So view profile doesn't link anywhere. I want to be in keeping. This screen is actually the logged in users screen. So this is what I see when I log into the app. And if you log into the app, this is what you will see. But if I log into the app and I want to view your profile, I want it to look basically exactly like this, right? I don't want it to look completely different if I'm looking at mine versus yours. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit and just make a copy of this entire screen. And you can do that by clicking on the entire screen label here and just press and holding the Alt key on a PC, or if you're on a Mac, you can press and hold the Option key and then click and just drag this over. And that'll create like an exact duplicate of that screen. Now you'll notice like it's still kind of like dragging this web of connections with it. And that's because it's an exact copy. So that means that all of these buttons and these list actions and all that kind of stuff are still tied to the screens that they were tied to over here. So what I'm going to do first is kind of disconnect those a little bit. Like this back button, let me zoom in. Like this back button here links to home. I don't really need to do that right now. This edit button links to edit what. This spitball button links to shoot a spitball, so I don't really need any of that. I don't think this, yeah, okay, so that one doesn't have an action on it. I think that's it. I don't see any more lines coming off of it. So I'm going to rename this instead of my profile. We're going to call this viewing profile or something. And one thing that I've found is that naming conventions are very important. They can really help you out later on. If you get especially in the database, if you're creating properties, especially relationships, you always want to make sure that you name both sides of the relationship so that you can figure out which one is which later on as well. And since this is the viewing profile, so this is the profile of the person that we're looking at, we don't really need an edit button because we can't edit somebody else's profile. So I'm going to take that off. And we also can't make a spitball for them. So I'm going to take that off as well. Really the only thing that's going to change here is instead of your spitballs, we're going to like make this a little bit more personal here, I think. And we're going to call it like so-and-so's spitballs, right? So like their first name, their spitballs. But if you notice, like when I click on this piece of text and I try to use the other person's information, I don't have that here yet. I don't have current user's first name. And the reason for that is because I'm not linking to this screen from anywhere. So what I can do is I can link from this view profile screen, this view profile button. I'm just going to link this to my new viewing profile screen. So link to viewing profile. A push is fine. You know, that's no big deal. And you can see it's sending current spitball data and current user data as well. And the current user data is what we need here. So I'm going to go back to my little label here. We'll go click into here, go current user, first name, and we'll put in like an apostrophe S there. So-and-so's first name's spitballs. There we go. And it's also helpful here. We need to actually reset this list as well, because this list is for my spitballs. And I don't want to show my spitballs on someone else's page. I want to show their spitballs. So basically we're going to, I'm just going to, the easiest way to reset a list is to set it to something else first. I don't know why that is, but that's the easiest way to do it. And then go in here and just choose spitballs. And we're going to make this the current user's spitballs where they are the creating user. And a lot of times this menu right here trips people up a lot because they're like, oh my gosh, so many different options. What the heck do I choose? To two tips here with that. One is that if you hover over this, it will give you like a little tooltip. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see it on the live stream, but if you hover over that, it will give you a tooltip. Like I can see it. And it says current user followers spitballs where they're the creating user. And then the second tip is like right here, anytime you see parentheses, I like to put in the words where they are or where it is, whatever this is, right? And this is why it's important to name everything in your database correctly, because this is what it's referencing. So you can see if I go into my Spitballs collection here, I have creating user right here. And if I didn't label this correctly, if I just labeled it user, then it would be really hard in that list to figure out which one I'm trying to add. And that's why naming stuff in your database is super important. But not just on this one side here. It's also important to actually go to the users collection and find the spitballs. Like, see, I messed up here on this one actually because it's right here, right? But this really needs to be called created spitballs. And if you're wondering why it's spelled correctly, it's because I was trying to be one of those people and spell it weird and decided it was a dumb idea. So yeah, it's very important to rename those in your database. So now over here, again, I don't want to display my spitballs. I want to display the current user's spitballs where they are the creating user, right? Because if I choose one of these other ones, this is saying the current user's followers spitballs. So that means everybody that this person follows is going to show their spitballs. And we definitely don't want that. So I'm just going to choose current user spitballs. And then one thing that you always have to do when you copy a list is, or reset a list, is go back in here and reset these, reset all the properties here in the list. So I'm just going to make this the current spitball. And then, oh, so I'm glad this happened as well. The reason that it's showing us two here is because we have a list of spitballs and we have somehow we have data on this preview modal about a spitball. So you can see if I click on this whole modal screen here, I have available data and I have current spitball, but I don't really know where this data is coming from right now. So what I can do is go down here and click on it. My guess, because the only way that they're getting to this preview modal about the user is by clicking on this list right here. That's how they're getting the current user data. But I don't really want the current spitball, and I think that's coming from here. So like this is where you can run into some trouble. So this is a list of spitballs, but I'm pretty sure like if they click on this name, yeah. So this is actually a list within a list. I don't know if you can see this, but I made this a list within a list. And so it's sending, like when it links to this profile screen, it's also sending the current spitballs information. So I don't really want this to happen, to be honest with you, because then it leads to some confusion later down the road. And this is why a lot of people run into issues linking between screens, because like if I'm looking at a list of spitballs here and I want to have the capability of like clicking on the person's full name and being taken directly to their profile, that's a great like workflow to do. Like there's tons of apps that do that, but it does make it more difficult down the line to, like, for instance, over here, when I'm trying to display a description, because when they click on this full name down here, it links them to this screen, which is sending that spitball data here, and then it's sending the spitball data here. So we've got like this like arc of sending information that we don't really need, but because we want that functionality, it's kind of like a side effect of being able to click on the person's name, essentially. So there's a couple of, side effects there with that. And sometimes, like, this is not a bad thing, right? Current Spitball, but it does mean that I'm going to play a guessing game of, okay, is this the list item? Is this the list item? I don't really know, so I'm just going to kind of like guess and put it there and see. And like maybe for this one, instead of here, I'm going to say maybe which one did I choose for this? Let's choose the top one for this. And let's choose the bottom one for this one. Like that. All right, and we'll probably have to do the same thing here. So with this one, we don't really know like which Spitball it is. But the other thing that we could do if we don't want to guess is we could, I guess, go over here and just delete this action off of this. Right? And now we should only see one option over here. Nope, it's sending it from somewhere else. Let's see. Let's see if the screen's retrieving it. Current Spitball from somewhere. Oh, probably here. Probably right here. Yep. So we'll take it off of there too. All right. So now we should only have one. Yep. So now we've only got one current Spitball option here. So we'll just set this to description. I'm not sure why there's two descriptions here. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why there's two different descriptions. Like I said, it's been probably 3 weeks since I've even touched this app. So we've got description, resource link, starred. I'm not even sure what starred means, to be honest. Oh, star this on your wall. Okay. Yeah, so... Okay, so starred. We'll just leave this both sometimes visible. Oh, I know why. So this was I'm so glad that I saw this as well. So the reason that there are two descriptions here, and they're controlled by visibility, because what I don't want to happen, the picture here is optional. So what I don't want to happen is, because there's no like auto widening option here, I have a short text description text box, and then this one is a long description text box. And the reason for that is, if it has an image, I want to show the short one so that the text doesn't overlap the image. If it doesn't have an image, I want it to show the long description here to basically fill in all this extra space that's not taken up by the image. So that's why that's there. Let's just make sure that this is the correct one. Current Spitball image. Okay, very cool. And then it's also usually good to go in and fix all this stuff too. So instead of the logged in user's profile picture, this is the current user's profile picture. And if there is no image, I don't even think I have this image anymore. I'm just pulling up a... Yeah, so I don't even have that. I guess this will work, maybe. It's not really my favorite, but... And then let's just make the background a little bit lighter. I may change this. Probably will change it later on, but okay. So there's the user's profile picture. We have, instead of the logged in users, instead of the logged in users, reviews, ratings, average, we're going to make this the current users review. Okay. Again, this is why it's important to name your database, because if I just named them both reviews, I wouldn't know, I wouldn't have any clue which one to pick. This one is the reviews where the current user is the reviewing user, so they're the person writing the review. And this one down here is the reviews as if they're the person being reviewed. So I'm going to actually take an average of their rating that's attached to that review. Okay, so there's that. I've got some text here. This is taking an integer of their hourly rate. The user's hourly rate. So we're going to actually change this as well. Instead of the logged in user, again, this is the current user's hourly rate. And then I'll just close these parentheses. And integer, basically what integer does is it just drops off the decimal points. You can think of this like rounding down to a whole number is basically what integer does. All right, so we're good there. Instead of the logged in user's cover photo, this is the current user's cover photo. And I do have the, oh, actually I have it here. I just haven't downloaded it. So I have this kind of like placeholder image right here. We'll download a transparent PNG here to Spitball. There we go. We'll just place that kind of filler image here. There we go. And their full name obviously needs to be changed. Like all this, because we made this a copy, all of this stuff has to be changed. The about, that's a label. Current user about. Even their counts, so we're counting how many specialties or interests they have. Even this has to be reset, right? Because we're counting the logged in user. And we want to count the current user's specialties. Count, yeah. Just close that. And again, this is a list as well. So again, to reset a list, I'd like to reset it to something else. Just because it feels more like a hard reset, I guess. Specialties interests, and then instead of all the specialties interests, we're just wanting the current user's specialties and interests here. And then underneath their social, we're doing some counts here of how many users they follow. So this is going to be the current users following. So this is how many people they are following. We are counting those. And this one is the same. It's just followers, current users, followers count. And this is how many sessions they have. Sessions count. Okay. Cool. So one of the things that I might do is I might actually, instead of having that edit icon here, what I might do is like copy this over, or maybe I'll copy this. This might be good. I need to figure out something to like have a link or something to actually like schedule with this particular person. Any suggestions from the audience? 'Cause I have no idea where to put that. I may have to reorganize this. Oh, this is an average rating too. Current user. reviews, user being reviewed, rating average. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to put that, to be honest with you. Maybe here? Like, I almost need like a button that says like schedule or something. Or like, I mean, I guess this message button can work. I don't really like having the, like, this button is a combined ellipse and an icon, but I don't really like doing that because they tend to like separate from each other. So what I might do is I'll go into Adobe Spark here and just create a new we'll just create like a new icon. And so I'll just duplicate this. You can use Canva as well. So I've used Canva for this kind of stuff too. But I don't know. I like Adobe Spark. But I mean, I like Canva. I just haven't used it as much. So I guess it's just a familiarity thing. We'll call this the schedule icon. The other thing that I like about Spark is that it gives you these like folders that you can put everything in. Which is really cool. It helps like keep all your different apps that you're building. It helps keep them organized. But so one of the things I'm going to need is I don't really need this anymore. I want to keep this, but I don't really need this icon here. So, but I want to make this the same color as everything else. So let me find what color this is here. I'll just copy this hex code and go back here. We'll just paste this hex code in here. There we go. And let me find an icon here. I don't know what do I search for schedule? Calendar. Well, see, I don't want to make it video because maybe they just want to have an audio call. I don't know. I think it needs to be like schedule or something. And I usually try to pick icons that are like cohesive with the icons that I already have. Like same weight and thickness. I guess weight and thickness are kind of the same thing, but this is kind of cool, but I'm not sure people will know what that is. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm not even sure that I know what that is. I guess it's a clock, maybe? This is kind of cool. Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes this is the hardest part. I'm like slowing us down, picking out an icon. Gosh, I don't even know. Schedule. It probably should be something with a calendar, maybe. I don't really see any that are like really cool looking. Maybe that one? I think that's too big, probably, but. Yeah, I think that'll work. Hopefully that's not too big, comparatively speaking. No, I think that's good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and download this as a PNG, I guess. Transparent. We'll call this, yeah, schedule icon. Cool. All right, so I'm actually just going to copy, like this is already an image, so I'm just going to copy this with Command C and then go over here and kind of paste it right here. And again, I'm not super sure where the best place to put this is, but I mean, I guess somewhere in there is good because all these are filled up with other stuff. Yeah, I guess something like that, right? And I'll go ahead and add a border. I like having a border to these because it creates some separation with everything that's around it. But this is, as Bob Ross would say, whatever you like, man. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so, all right, so we've got a place for them to select a user. I'm not sure what is linking to this from. Oh, delete the actions there. So we have a way to like view someone's profile. And now that we have a way to view their profile, we need to have a way for them to actually create like a meeting invite. But I'm still like, I can't really figure out, I can't think of if I want them to message them and actually chat before they schedule something, or if it should be more like Calendly or something where you just like select a time and a date, or like select 3 times and a date and send it to them that work for you. And then the other person can just be like, oh yeah, like this time works, that time works, this time works, or suggest another time. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on what to do there? Because we need some way for them to like actually schedule some way for them to actually schedule with the person. I don't want people to have to like maintain a calendar though, because I feel like that's really obnoxious with Calendly. You have to like go in and constantly change like when you're available and stuff. I don't know. Let's just go for it. Dude, grilled cheese, dude. I love your username. That's so awesome. Building an app for a client as I watch this. Very cool. What kind of app are you building? Grilled cheese, man. He's answering us. Grilled cheese man is answering us really quick. And while he's answering, paid membership app. Nice. Those are the best kind. So I'm gonna create like a copy of this form screen. Even though this is not going to be used for shooting a spitball, obviously we are going to repurpose this for suggesting a time, maybe? Or and this might get kind of tricky. I can't remember. I want to keep in keeping with profile info. Let's keep this lowercase. Suggest a time. So I think what I want them to do is like basically suggest 3 different times that work good for them. And this is like where we would need to do some major like usability, like user acceptance testing on this to like see if they like this process. But I think what we're gonna have to do is let them suggest a time, and then or let them suggest 3 times maybe, and then all the ones that are not chosen, like maybe we should just create sessions. Um, yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll have them like create a session with a start date, and then what we'll do here is we'll add a true false property to this sessions collection and call it accepted. And I do know that for the daily API, if we're creating rooms programmatically, like here in the API, it says configuration post rooms. So anytime you see post, that's typically like a create action. Not always, I don't want to say always, but typically it's create. So anytime you want to look for creating something, you look for post. Anytime you want to look for like just reading data or getting data, you typically look for this get. This it's probably really hard to see for you guys because it's hard for me to see, but get, and then you've also got delete here. Obviously, that is delete. And then other endpoints like patch and put are update actions. And there's a few other ones out there as well, but those are rarely used, I would say. Grilled cheese, dude. I typically use Adalo as a backend just because it's so easy to work in. You don't have to know any query parameters or anything like that. You don't have to like do any data matching or transformation or anything like that in order to use it. I have used Adalo, Airtable, in a couple of apps, but and it does work well, but there are a couple of like limitations. You have a 5-second API limit, 5 API calls per second limit. You've got in order to like query and filter lists and stuff, you have to always use the filter by formula. And if you ever want to combine filters, you have to come up with a formula to send to Airtable that accomplishes that just with one filter. So it's kind of hard to do. I've heard of people using Xano with some success. I think I've never used like MySQL or anything like that to do that sort of thing, but I'm sure that you could, like a Dropbase.io, you could use that as like a Postgres server on the back end if you wanted to. But to me, man, like Adalo's internal servers they work just as well as anything else in my book. Like Airtable, they have downtime like all the time. If you run Integromat or Zapier scenarios, like Airtable goes down probably like at least once a month, sometimes more than that. And I found that like Adalo's database servers are actually like on par or better than that actually. So, yeah, I typically always use Adalo. But that's just me. Some other people use other stuff and they like it and it works just good for them. But for the speed and capability, I like Adalo's backend just fine. Okay, so really what I want to happen is like anytime the person like suggests a time, I don't want it to actually generate a room then. What I want it to do, like this is going to be called a time, even though it's technically creating a session record. The session is like won't actually be created, I don't think, until the other person accepts it. So this person will be able to create several sessions and let this person pick from it. And then once the person accepts it, then it becomes a session, and then we can go and create a room and attach that room ID to the session. So like, let's look at this this daily API real quick. So to create a room, or actually let's look at the authentication really quick. So this says almost all of the daily API endpoints require that you include your API key in the authorization header of your HTTP request. Okay, and we'll jump into this in just a second. But the main thing here is that we need an API key. And I think I already have one here. So if I go, this is the daily like dashboard or whatever you want to call it. I already created an account. This is my API key. Please don't steal it. I'll change it later. What am I doing? Oh, okay, yeah. So let me copy this. So we've got our API key, and this is how it has to be formatted. But we can go ahead and create the custom action that's going to fire this off for us. So let me go back into Adalo here, and what I'll do is I'm just going to add like a temporary button here to build the custom action with. So we'll go down here to add action, custom action. I have a lot of them apparently. I probably could repurpose some of these, but generate daily call. Oh, okay, here we go. I already had one actually. All right, so I'm going to edit this just to make sure that this is correct. The type is a create. I want to create a room. And it looks like the API base URL is there already, but let's just go and check this and make sure that this is correct. So to check the base URL, let's just go to the rooms, or maybe introduction. Okay, so it's using like our own personal, it's using our own personal like link, I guess. But let's just, we'll go back here and check this. Let's go to rooms. Oops. Okay, all right, so this right here underneath the endpoint here, this is the endpoint that we'll need to send our information to. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it in here. I think it's the same thing, but we'll just make sure. I'm not even sure if that took. What is it? HT api.daily.co api.daily.co/v1/rooms. Is that right? CO v1 rooms. Yes. Okay. A lot of times APIs will tell you if a parameter is required, and parameters are basically just like options that you can send to the API to alter the request or the result that you get. So like if we want to start with the video off, we can do that. You know, that's just set as basically true or false. If we want to, that's what Boolean means. If we want to enable recording, so like we want to give the users the option to record their session, this says that it's there's a specific plan that you have to buy in order to get this feature. But if we wanted to, you could put, I'm not exactly sure what the value is that needs to go here, but it's some sort of word of some kind here. We'd have to read more to learn about that. But yeah, so we've got this here. We just need some, in fact, it doesn't even look like anything is required necessarily. Except for we would probably want to send a name, because I'm pretty sure that if we don't send a name, it's just going to like create a random string of letters and numbers. And maybe that's fine because our users aren't really going to see that anyway. The privacy, I'm not exactly sure what this is either, but we could probably dig in some more and read that as well. So yeah, I'm just basically going to leave everything blank here. The method is going to be a post, just like we had here. See right here, this post, it's kind of hard to read. The header, this authorization is going to be our API key that we had. So just like it says here in the authentication portion, how it says authorization, bearer, your API key, this is the name of the header. So we're going to plug that in there, authorization, and then we actually do need the bearer word in there. I'm going to put a space, and then I'm just going to like paste. Oops, I'm going to paste our API key in here. Go get it again. All right, let me paste this in here. Get rid of these extra spaces. It shouldn't matter, but I just want to make sure. Click done. The content type, this isn't always required, but I do think it helps. It doesn't say that it's required. Yeah, it doesn't say that it's required, but I just send it anyway, telling it what type of information is being sent. So we'll hit done, and I'll go ahead and hit run test request. And that was like really easy actually. So we just sent a request. It created the room and sent us the room ID back. It sent us the URL for that room as well. It sent us the name of the room, what the privacy level of it is. So basically right now it's set to public, meaning that anybody can click this link and join it. It tells us that it was created at this particular timestamp, and this is telling us that it was created programmatically, not through the dashboard right here. So you can see like this is the room that was just made with that call, which is pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and save that, and now we've got the custom action in there. Now that I have the custom action, I don't really need this anymore. I can just delete it basically. Okay, so now that we've got that custom action, that's good. I just need to finish building out this suggest a time screen. So what I'm going to do is change what this does. So instead of creating spitballs, this is going to create sessions. And I don't really want them to name it, and they can't accept it yet. So I just want them to basically like suggest a time that works for them. And maybe I should put that in here. Suggest suggest at least 3 times or something. And actually we may need to change this, but we'll just keep building and see where we get to. So it's going to create a new session, and we almost need, like when it creates a session, we almost need like, instead of just having a users collection here of people that are tied to it, like this should really be called probably participants. We should probably have like who created, or like who is suggesting the session and who is the end user of that session probably. I think, yeah. So let's go in here and do this. Users, let's make sure. Created spitballs. Well, where's our session? Oh, meets. This is okay. So this needs to be called something different. So we'll call this like participating sessions or sessions. You can never be too specific with these things. Sessions they how do you spell it? Participated. Participated. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's go back into sessions and let's put in here something about name, participant, start dates. Yeah, we need to have something like who created the, like who's the initiator of this, I think. So we'll create a relationship to the session. Again, we'll call this like creating user, and let's not forget to go back to the users collection and actually label this appropriately. And I'm going to call it like created or initiated sessions, maybe. Creating or initiating user. Initiating. Okay, so then we've got that, and then we also need like, because I want these to be just one-on-ones right now, I think what I'm probably going to do is create another one for users. User can have multiple sessions. Yeah. This is going to be the like requested user or receiving user of the session. Yeah, receiving user. And then we'll go back to the users collection and rename this so we don't get confused. Sessions, or maybe we'll call it like received sesh requests. Yeah, received sesh requests. Again, naming in the database is like, oh my gosh, it's so important. Like I can't even tell you how many times like I've gone in there and gotten confused and had to like delete half of a collection because I couldn't remember what the relationships were. Okay, so we've got that. This, so it's going to create a session, and what we want to do is like set automatically, we want to set who the creator is, and obviously that's going to be the logged in user. And then we also want to automatically set who the receiving user is, and this is going to be the current user, but again, we don't have that information here yet because we haven't linked to this screen. So let me go over here where we have the current user information available. Available data. Yeah, current user. We want this button right here to basically create this. So let's link this to our, well, let's rename this. It shouldn't be called shoot a spitball. It should be like suggest session times, maybe. And I need to fix this because that looks bad. But yeah, so now we can link to create session times or suggest session times is what it is. So, okay, so now it's sending current user data. Now over here on the form, we can look in the automatic fields and say, okay, the receiving user is whoever's profile we were just looking at. So we'll set that to current user, click done. And the next thing that I want to do probably is like, I think what we want to do is this is going to be tough. What we may want to do is like create something that holds times within a session. So maybe this does create a session, and then we create times within that session. Yeah, I like that better actually. Let's change that. So a session, and then let's do it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this suggested times collection, and this is going to have a date and time property. Date and time property, and it's going to be tied to a session. Sessions. And this screen trips a lot of people up. Like they don't know which one to choose, but I like to replace these words with certain things. So basically what I want to happen is I want it to like create a session anytime someone asks for that session, but just not create the link until the other person accepts a suggested time. So when they click on like, hey, I want to meet with this person, they click that, it creates a session on the back end that then as they're creating times, those times are being tied to that session. And then once the person actually accepts the session or accepts one of the times, it goes out to daily, fetches the room information and attaches it to the particular session. And I think that will probably work best. So with that in mind, the first relationship that I think I'll need is we've got the date and time for the suggested time, but we also need like which session this particular suggested time is tied to. But a session can have multiple times, but a suggested time really should only belong to one session. Yeah. Okay. And then we also we're going to do something really strange here because I can foresee down the road when a person, we can either keep this start date here and do it that way and just leave this empty until the person responds to it, or we can actually we can create another relationship and actually tie the selected suggested time to this particular session. But I think this will work fine. We'll just go with this for now. Okay, so instead of creating times, what we really want to happen is when they click on this, before it links them to the screen, we want it to actually create a session. And the initiating user is going to be the logged in user. The receiving user is the current user. And it has no suggested times yet because they're going to create those on this screen over here. Accepted is false. It does not have a start date and time yet because they haven't accepted one of the suggested times. And it doesn't have a name yet because we just don't need it right now. So it creates a session. This is actually going to create suggested times. And again, we don't need a name field. We really just need a date and a time, and we need it to be tied automatically to whatever this current session is that we just made. So this button's going to create the session, send us to this page, and then now any times that they create will automatically be tied to that particular session. All right, so let's work on some aesthetic stuff here. Let's just call this like add. And I can't remember what my UI standard is here for these type buttons. Okay, it looks like it's all caps. Yeah, all caps with like all caps, 14, standard system font. Okay. So we'll just make that the same over here. Okay. All right. So that works good. And then now, like, what I think will be good is to actually display these suggested times as they are creating them. So what I'm going to do is probably create I would say maybe like a simple list, but I think I want it to be more branded than that. I think I want it to look a little bit more interesting. So what I might do is just copy this list from here, and we'll just use it on that screen. So what I'm going to do is like select this list, press and hold Alt, or if you're on a Mac, just the Option key, and we're just going to drag this over to this screen over here. Hey Manoj, good to hear from you. So I don't think I need this portion of it, so we're just going to delete this out of here maybe, and we'll just make this like, and I'm actually going to like slide this over a little bit because I don't like it when the list is off center like that. Yeah, I think that works good. And I'm going to leave like some room here for an icon so that they can delete it as well. And it's still a little bit too wide, so I'd like to make it the same width as this bar here. And it's a little bit tough to tell, but that's pretty close, I think. And this is one of the hardest parts, I think, is like getting everything lined up just right. That's pretty close, I think. So this right here, instead of this, so this is not actually a list of specialties and interests anymore. Obviously, this is going to be a list of suggested times. And what we want to do is make this, we want to filter this to be only the current session. So whatever times that they are creating that's tied to this session, those are going to be the suggested times. So I'll just go in here and change this. Obviously this is, we don't care, this is going to be always visible. And the label here, this is going to be, obviously we don't want this to be, we want this to be the suggested times, time and date, or date and time. And I'm gonna format it so that it's not relative. I'm gonna do it so that it actually has a time, has the time associated with it. And then I'm not completely sure that this will all fit in the same space. So what I'm gonna do is bring this down just a little bit, maybe to 14 or so. And for those of you who don't know, I'm just double clicking to get into this list. If you just double click on a list, you'll get into the list, and then you can see like this is a group within the list here. So if I double click again, it gets me down into the group, and then you can just kind of like keep stepping your way through like lists and groups down through that hierarchy there. Okay, so we've got that. Let me go ahead and add a a button here so that they can delete ones that they don't want to, or like maybe they messed up entering it. I don't really want to give them an edit button just because it's too, like, I don't know, it's just too much. Like, they don't need to do that. Just delete it and add another one, you know? So what I'm going to do is make this probably a clear. But see, I'd really like for it to match. I'd really like for it to match this right here. Obviously, this doesn't look super good, so what I'm probably going to do is replace this with a picture. And let's just go ahead and do that. I think it'll be easier to do. I'm going to make this the same color, though. So we'll just copy this hex code. Go in here. Paste it. There we go. And then I'm going to replace this with like an X, I think. Might be a little bit too bold. Let me send this to the back so I can get to that other one. Ah. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think this will work a little bit better, maybe. Hopefully. That looks okay. Or wait. Is it white or is it? Oh, it's dark. Okay. All right. Bink. Brilliant. All right, so let's download this Mamma Jamma. Put this thing in here. I'm gonna call this like the clear button. Really, it's probably like the back button or something, but. And then now we have the great option of putting this in there instead. Clear. And I'm going to make this the same. Same width and height, I think. And we'll just drop this in here like that. Oh, but it's the same color. Dang it. You know what? That's fine. I'm totally cool with that. I think that's fine. But this guy needs to be replaced. We need to add an image here to replace this guy. Because I don't really care for how it shifts around like that, so I'm just gonna replace this with an actual image instead. I'm not sure what the size of that is, but we'll just go with like 30, I guess. And we can delete this altogether. Yeah, much better. Okay, link back. All right. Well, actually, what we want to do is instead of just link back, let's say the person gets here and they're like, you know what? I don't know. Like, maybe I don't want to meet with this person. Then they click this X. I don't want to have just like this blank session just floating around in the database. So because this button actually creates the session and then links to the screen, I'm also like, if they hit this button to go backwards, I also want to delete that same session before it links them back. And that way it doesn't just like create these empty session records in my database. Because then those can pop up elsewhere in your app too. It's not just there. Okay, so suggest at least 3 times. I think that looks good. Honestly, this screen probably doesn't have to be this long for some reason. It's really long. We'll just make this a little bit shorter. Like that. And I'll make sure that this is set to modal as well. I just realized that the link is a push instead of a modal. Suggest at least 3 times. Date and time, add. Date and time. Okay, cool. The other thing that we may need to turn on, sometimes you have to turn it on, sometimes you don't, is this auto refresh, so that as the person is adding new items, it's also adding them to this list. But I've noticed that actually you don't have to have this turned on all the time, I don't think. And then sorting, we'll just sort it from like created date, newest to oldest, because we want to see the most recent one that we've added at the top. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Okay, so we've got to wait for them to suggest times here, and now we will actually need to build out a way for this particular person to see that and accept those times. Oh, and also we need a button down here that says like done, so that actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do that, because that's pretty important. Like after they're done adding, we don't want them to hit back, because then it'll just delete it. So we'll just go in here and hit done. I'm not going to put a shadow on it, but we are going to round this puppy all the way. We'll make the text white, or maybe, yeah, I don't know, man. And then, okay, so we've got our done button here, but I'm thinking that we want to add some visibility to this, so that the done button is only visible if they've added at least 3 times, or whatever we want our number to be. So I'm just going to change the visibility here on this button so that it's sometimes visible if the current session's suggested times count is greater than or equal to 3. So that like as they're adding times, and once they hit 3, just like it says here, once they hit 3, then it shows done, and they can, continue on to whatever it is. From here, I have no idea where they're going to go yet, but we'll figure that out. Maybe just back. Maybe just link back to that person's profile, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Now, like I said, we need a place where you can actually review sessions that people want to have with you. So, and I kind of like this model. I don't know, y'all can tell me what you think about it, but I kind of like this model because it puts the power to accept meetings in the creator's hands. Like, not the creator of the session, but the coach or the mentor, whoever's being asked. It puts the power in their hands whether or not to accept a session. So I think that'll be really good. The other thing, I'm not really sure where to put that button. Maybe it should be under notifications, probably, I guess. And I don't think I have a notification screen yet. So again, a lot of this is just like, I'm sure y'all have experienced this as well, but like, you can't build this thing until you build this other thing, and then you can't build that without building something else. So sometimes it can feel kind of like all over the place while you're building stuff, but that's just part of the process. That's why we make it easy to test. We try to test often, hopefully. So yeah, let's build a notification screen real quick. Or I'll say real quick. It's probably going to be a couple of minutes, but I'm trying to see if there's a screen that I can just like copy. I mean, this one's kind of cool, but I like this list on this one, but I'm not entirely sure that we may just have to build a separate one, honestly. Like we have this search. I noticed I did not put a profile thing there. Let's just put, yeah, we'll just copy this one and then we'll just make this like a notification screen. Or maybe like activity. I don't know. We'll just notifications. Link to my profile. Okay, that's fine. So we definitely don't need this though. We don't really need a search bar. We don't really need that. This is kind of a cool list, I think, to make a notifications list from, because then it shows you like who initiated the notification. But we'll probably need to add some more information here. Aside from just like their full name, we'll probably need to add like what type of notification is this, right? Is this like a session request? Is this a, someone liked your Spitball, someone followed you? Like what is, we'll have to put that information in here. So let me just go to the database real quick in our notifications collection and see what we've got to work with. Okay, so we've got a receiving user. Let's go ahead and add a relationship to users again. And this will be for the triggering user. So this is who triggered the notification. And it's going to be this one, this first one, because we've only got one user. A quick tip there as well is you can always tell what type of relationship it is by looking at this little file icon. If it looks like just a single sheet of paper, you know it's a one-to-many. But if it's something like this, where you've got multiple little stacks of paper here, then you know that it's at least a many-to-many, but to confirm, you would need to go and check the reciprocal collection as well. So it's a quick tip there on that. And then notifications, name, receiving user. All right, so let me just rename this. Instead of receiving user, or in addition to receiving user, we'll call this like a triggering user. And that way we can distinguish between the two. We'll just need to make sure that we go again back to the users collection and put this as notifications they triggered, and this will be notifications they received. Cool. All right, so let me go. We'll probably need a notifications type as well. And this can actually just be like a text field. In fact, we probably could have just used, well, yeah. Or we'll just call it type. I don't need to put two. There we go. Type. The name, this can actually be, like, if you want, this can be the title. And we'll go ahead and add one for subtitle as well, just to give us some flexibility later on. Subtitle. And then everything else, I think we can, we'll probably need a relationship to like session and anything that actually creates a notification. But we can, yeah, we can do that later. That's not a huge deal. All right, so here in the notifications, what I want to happen is say like, let's reset this list first of all. We want it to always be visible. And this isn't a list of users anymore. This is technically a list of notifications. We want to make this only the logged in users notifications. Again, those, when you see it in these parentheses right here, that means I usually put in the words here, logged in users notifications, where they are the receiving user of those notifications. Like this one right here is the logged in users notifications where they are the triggering user. Well, we don't want to see all the notifications that the user triggered. We want to see all the ones that they've received. So I'm going to choose this first one right here. And again, that goes back to naming stuff in your database correctly. Okay. So we've got that. Now we've got that. Let's go ahead and bump this up just a little bit. And this is actually going to be the current notifications triggering user's full name. It could either be their full name, or we could potentially like make this say something completely different, like new follow from so-and-so, right? Or something like that. Maybe that's a better way to do it. We just have to think of all the circumstances here just to make sure that this is going to work for all of them. So let's see, we've got notifications for followers, following, session invitations. You know what? I think we'll put that in title. We'll put that in the notification title. I think that'll work better. So we'll just, for this portion here, we'll just make this be the notification title, I guess. And that'll give us flexibility later on to make that title whatever we need to make it. The subtitle, now maybe this can be the triggering user or whatever. I think that may work better. And we make this a little bit smaller. Or maybe we could make it the date that it happened. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you could do here. Yeah, let's make it the date, I think. And we can always change it. Current notification, create a date. And I like leaving this as relative. I don't know why it just says 3 hours ago or whatever. Because usually notifications don't sit in there very long. So I like leaving it as relative. And then this picture here is technically going to be the current notifications triggering users profile photo. And I can't believe I don't have this placeholder image anywhere. Let me check. Yeah, wow. Can't believe I don't have that in here. I guess we'll just use that same one. Or maybe this one, maybe. Yeah, we'll change that later. Anyway, okay, so we've got the title of the notification, when it was created, and then let's go ahead and put in like a little arrow icon here. Arrow. something like that, I guess. Because we want them to be able to like click on it and to be taken to, whatever that relevant thing is that it's attached to. Like if this is a session invite, I want to be able to click on this and be taken to the session, right? So, and this is not search to. This is notifications. And it looks like we've still got some stuff linking to this screen. So that's the other thing that I want to take care of, is making sure that, or I'm sorry, it looks like it's linking back. So let me go, where is this linking to? Oh, it's this tab bar down here. The first tab links to home, second tab to search. We copied it from search, so that's why it wasn't there. I like having no transition between the tabs. The third one, sessions. Yeah, I guess that's where that should go, huh? Messages. We don't have, yeah, okay, so we don't have either of those screens yet. And to be honest, we may not even need those, I don't know. But, okay, so we do want this notification bell to link to, not my profile, but to link to notifications. And this one to link to notifications. We'll leave those both on push, but if we're going to do it this way, we probably need to add a back button here, I would think. And maybe center this up a little bit. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Oh, so this is the other thing that we need to do. We need to go ahead and change our back button as well. So we'll make a duplicate of this in Spark, and we'll call this back button. We will edit this. And let's replace this with something else. Let's replace it with, or we'll just search for back. That should get us where we need to be, hopefully. And the bad thing is that whatever we put here has to be, we'll have to go and change throughout the rest of the app, but I think using an image as the button instead of like two separate components is probably going to work much better. And I kind of like these like little chip arrows. I don't even know what you call them, but I want it to be a little bit rounder than that, I think. Let's see. Like, see, these are cool, but I want them to be more like this, where they're kind of like squashed, maybe. I don't know. They should probably match, honestly. They should probably match what we have on the this list over here. Should probably match this in some way, or pretty close at least. Yeah, something like that. Probably. It's gonna work best. Oops. Let me copy this color first. I'll put this here first, and then just paste this color in here like that. Okay. I think that'll work for now. We can always change it later. It's not a huge deal. Back button, we'll save. We'll go to Spitball, and then we'll add an image here to this upper left corner. And it stuck it in the list. So what I can do here is just go, if I hit this list, go all the way back to the screen's components, and then go into this little drop down here. I can grab this image and just drag it outside of the list. There we go. And I think the other one we made like 30 or something. So we'll make this one kind of the same, and then we will upload the back. Oh my gosh, that looks totally, hold on. Looks totally off. Doesn't even look square, centered. It's weird because it is centered, but it doesn't look like it's centered. Yeah. Man, that was weird. Okay. I just saw it in here and I was like, dang, that looks terrible. But okay. So we replaced that. Let's go ahead and choose it again. There we go. Probably needs to be a little bit thicker, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, so we've got that. We've got the back button there. Probably needs to be smaller too. This needs to link back. Okay. And again, I kind of want, like, if they click on this, to be taken to the session detail, like the details about that particular session. But to do that, we would kind of need to finish building out the entire notification system, and that takes a little bit of time to do. So maybe what I'll do is actually just click on this sessions button. Like we'll go ahead and build out this screen next, and that way we'll be ready to set that part up as well. So let me go in here, and honestly, we'll just make a duplicate of this search screen again. And then I'm going to position these so that they make a little bit more logical sense in terms of where they're located. Okay, so notifications is up there because they click on it up there. Sessions is down here because they click on it down at the bottom down here. I think that works better. And then this is not search 2 anymore. This is sessions. And because this is a tab bar, we'll go in here and make this say sessions. And we're going to kind of make this be like the same thing. But I think we probably need to decide how to organize these on this screen as well. Third tab, yeah. Okay, we probably need to figure out how to organize these because do I want to show like a calendar component? Because we can definitely like stick a calendar on here, and that way they can see that. Or maybe the best thing to do is to just put a list of sessions, maybe like upcoming or requested and past or something. And then when they click on a session, it will take them to a calendar view with all of the suggested times, and then they can click on a suggested time and accept it. Maybe that's the best way to do it. So I think, yeah, let's do it that way. Let's just do it like this is a list of sessions. This is maybe the current sessions creating. See, again, naming, creating, initiating users' full name and their profile picture. So we want the current sessions creating or initiating users' profile photo. And I've got to go back in and put the placeholder images in, but and maybe we want this to be only sessions, only the logged in users sessions where they are the receiving user, maybe, or maybe where they are a participant. Maybe that's what, do we have that in here? Participants. Okay, so let's make it that instead. Let's make it sessions they participated in. Yeah, let's make it that. So let's make it logged in users sessions where they are the participants. Because that will, what that's going to do is like, and we should probably do that up here as well on the add button. Like when the session is created, we need to add both of these users to the participants, I think. So like it's going to create the session, and then we need to immediately update the new session. And for the participants, we need to add the current user, and we also need to update it again and add the logged in user. The logged in user as the to the participants as well. And the reason that I think we need to do that is probably because we want to show, because we're dividing it up by like upcoming sessions and past, or requested sessions, upcoming and past, or something like that. Maybe we can put a little toggle bar up here, very similar to this. We'll put a toggle bar up there, and then we'll kind of let them choose like how they want to view it. So past sessions, upcoming, and requests. And then because we're organizing it that way, we need to be able to show like both sessions that they requested themselves and sessions that people requested of them. So we need to show both sessions from both ways, and probably label that here in the session as well. I think that would probably be the most helpful. So what we will do is I'll probably just copy this, honestly. Like this is a good little toolbar thing that's already made. So we'll just copy this down here, even though I copied it originally. And we kind of need another tab here. Like this one needs to say, instead of people, this one needs to say like request, or like requests, session requests, and like maybe this one needs to say upcoming. And we need to technically have another one called like past, but we can add that in a second. Requests. Upcoming. And then hopefully I can like condense this down a little bit. Ooh, that's tight. Let's see if we can fit the word past in here. And typically what I really like to do is like make these all the same width. So we may have to just like redo this. Or we can maybe expand this out just a little bit, like that. And 3 is much, much harder to do than just 1. So what I'll probably do is like go with this one. We'll just press and hold Alt or Option on a Mac and create a duplicate of that. And then I'll just do it again. And that's pretty close. So they almost all fit. I'm just not sure that that word upcoming is going to fit in this space here. That's the only thing. Yeah, I'm sure if I made it lowercase, yeah, see, that one fits just fine. So maybe we can do that. Maybe we can just make these lowercase. We could spend more time on it and like, you know, actually get rectangles and then put text inside the rectangles and all that kind of stuff. But just for the sake of speed, I mean, it's just easier just to make everything lowercase here. Requests, upcoming, and past. And those should all be evenly spaced. And now all we have to do is just go in and make these just text buttons instead, and we will change the type here and the color. And we'll extend this rectangle down just a little bit. So we got that. I just did a copy of that again. And this time this one is the text button with a different color. And this time this one is the contained button with the blue. That one stays the same. I'll grab this one because these are all a group. So this is just a rectangle with buttons sitting on the you know, it's a gray rectangle with just buttons sitting on top of it basically. Yeah, so now this one goes back to the text button. And now the past one is a contained button. So we've got 3 different versions of this kind of tab bar here. And we're going to control each of these with visibility. So that's kind of how we're going to make sure that these things behave the way that they should. What we will probably need is something over here. See where this says search toggle here? So what we do is, in order to make this, I'm going to create another toggle here with a number, and we're going to call this like the sessions toggle. And we're almost out of time here, but hopefully we can get this done. So we're going to make this, I'm just going to reset the visibility on this, and we're going to make requests be the number 1. So this is only going to be visible if the logged in user's sessions toggle is equal to 1. This one is only going to be visible, I'm actually just going to reset it. This one's only going to be visible if the logged in user's sessions toggle is equal to 2. And this one here is only going to be visible if the logged in user's sessions toggle is equal to 3. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And what we want to happen is each time they click on one of these gray sections, we want it to actually change that toggle property in the user's collection. So this is really just going to update the logged in user, and we're going to set their sessions toggle to 2 because that's what upcoming is. We set upcoming to 2. And past this one, we're going to update logged in user. We're going to make this one 3. And the blue one we don't really need to do or add anything to because they're already on requests, right? So updating the user is not really going to do anything. But on this one we do. So we're going to update the logged in user. This one's going to be 1. This time upcoming we skip, and the past is again 3. And same thing with this one. Update logged in user. Make this 1. And we'll update logged in user, make this one 2. And then we leave that one alone again, this blue one. We're out of time, but next time we'll look at creating some more lists here, because we'll need a separate list for each of these as well, because the list is filtered differently, and we can't change how the list is filtered based on, what they select. So we'll finish building this list out of sessions, and then we will, once we have that, we'll duplicate that list and have 3, 1 for each of these. And then from there, when they select a sesh, it will show all the suggested times for that sesh if it's a request. So we'll probably have 2 separate screens from that. And then from there, we'll give them the ability to like join a session, maybe delete a session, all that kind of stuff. So for those of you that stayed this long, very good, sirs and ladies, and thank you very much, and we shall hopefully see you next time. So thank you very much.